Welcome, everyone. Welcome. It's so great to see so many names in the room with us today. I would like to welcome our governing bodies, our partners, and you. My name is Ryan Bartlett. I'm Blackfoot in Chippewa and a coordinator here at the CPA Western School of Business in the Indigenous Learners and Accounting Initiative. I'm thrilled to be your host, and I will be joined today by our guest panelists to have a lively conversation fueled by insights in the Indigenous Learners and Accounting Initiative. We want to spark your interest in finding out more about ILA, the courses, and the modules. In order for us to share this conversation digitally, this presentation will be recorded. While we are meeting on a virtual platform, I would like to take this moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we reside in. Across the Western region that the CPA Western School of Business and the provincial CPA bodies operate within, and from coast to coast, we want to acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territories of the Inuit, Métis, and First Nation people who call this land home. On this land and in this place, we strive to learn together, walk together, and grow together in a good way. Today, I'm joining you from Mohkinstsis, Calgary, the traditional territory of the peoples of Treaty 7, which include the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai First Nations, and the Tsuut'ina First Nations, and the Stoney Nakoda, including Chiniki, Bearpaws, Goodstoney First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. We at the CPA Western School of Business and the Western provincial CPA bodies honor the contributions, heritage, stories, and cultures of the many Indigenous peoples past, present, and future. As we reaffirm our commitment, practice good relations, and further the steps we have all taken towards reconciliation. So, why work towards becoming a CPA? Pursuing a CPA opens doors to a world of opportunity. As a CPA, you're not just an accountant, you're a trusted advisor in the business world known for your expertise and ethical standards. You're equipped to work in diverse industries and settings, from corporate finance to public accounting, education, not-for-profit sector, and even government roles. Currently, Indigenous communities are underrepresented in the accounting profession, and this initiative aims to address that. The Indigenous Learners and Accounting Initiative is designed to support Indigenous students in pursuing careers in accounting, offering a unique curriculum that integrates Indigenous perspectives and knowledge with CPA training. The CPA Western School of Business and the Aboriginal Financial Officers Association of Alberta joined forces to create and offer preparatory courses and CPA PEP modules for Indigenous learners. Collaboration with the Western Provincial CPA bodies, CPA British Columbia, CPA Alberta, CPA Saskatchewan, and CPA Manitoba, has been crucial in providing these specialized educational opportunities to our Indigenous learners. These courses and modules are designed to meet the CPA certification program requirements and builds a strong foundation in accounting principles while fostering an inclusive environment that respects and celebrates Indigenous cultures and traditions. If you're just starting out, we offer CPA preparatory courses, which consists of 14 bachelor degree level courses that are required for entry into the CPA professional education program. The CPA professional education program, known as CPA PEP, is the graduate level education component required to obtain your CPA designation. This program is designed to enable learners to work full-time while studying part-time. It consists of 6 modules focused on preparing CPA candidates for a career in business and accounting, targeting towards mid-level and management level positions. All of the courses in the CPA preparatory stream and in the CPA PEP modules in the Indigenous Learners and Accounting Initiative have been designed for Indigenous learners. That means that courses and modules are taught by Indigenous instructors and supported by Indigenous facilitators, incorporating Indigenous voices throughout the experience. Therefore, your in-person learning sessions are centered around community and provide opportunities for peer learning, lively discussions, and support. To kick things off with your CPA preparatory stream, this upcoming winter and spring session will offer you four of the 14 courses required for your entry into CPA PEP. Those courses are Introductory Financial Accounting, Introductory Management Accounting, as well as Intermediate Financial Reporting 1 and 2. As of this past summer, the CPA PEP stream has now begun offering 2 core modules and 2 of the 4 available elective modules. Core 1 module, Core 2, Assurance elective module, and Performance Management elective module. After this presentation, please visit www.cpawsb.ca/ILA to continue your journey with us. Now, the moment you've been waiting for. Let's dive into our conversation with our guests. I'm delighted to introduce to you our panelists who will share their experiences with us today. We have with us in the room today, Shelby Sloat, a current student in PEP. Shelby brings a wealth of experience and unique perspective on balancing studies with personal and professional responsibilities. Joining us as well, Stephanie Austin, also a current student. Stephanie is in the preparatory stream who has been actively involved in the program and will provide you with valuable insights into the impact of the program on her goals. We also have Josh Latender, one of our incredible instructors and true inspiration. Josh brings extensive experience in CPA education and a deep understanding of the integration of Indigenous knowledge in the Indigenous Learners and Accounting Initiative. Welcome all of you, and thank you so much for joining us today. So to start with the questions and conversations, let's start with Shelby and Stephanie. If you've joined the room now, can you share a brief overview of your journey into the Indigenous Learners and Accounting program?
Yeah, so I originally was in film for a little bit, and then I went back to school for accounting. And during my school time, I got really involved in the Indigenous Student Center there. And so once I kind of got out in the business world and the firm I work at, I am the only Indigenous person. We have one Indigenous client. I was really feeling, disconnected. So I was like, oh, let's take a little look. And I found the Indigenous Learners in Accounting, and I was like, hey, this would actually be really cool. And so asked about it, and yeah, luckily it mostly timed out well for when I had wanted to start Core 1. So yeah.
Amazing. And Stephanie, have you joined us yet?
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
Oh, amazing. Welcome, Stephanie. So great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you'd like to share with us about your journey.
Sure. I had previously taken accounting through university, and CPA at the time it was CGA. I'd always kept it at the back of my mind that at some point I would like to learn and get to that point to register with a higher accounting body. So life happens, and fast forward, I learned about AFOA and their programming. So I had taken those courses earlier this year, and they mentioned that the Indigenous Learners in Accounting program, which I hadn't heard of. I had been monitoring the CPA programs prior, but this program was new in the last year or so. So I only had a week to decide if I wanted in or out, and the information presented at the time just seemed like a no-brainer. They made it so easy to join the program, so I registered at that time.
That's amazing, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing that with us. And Joshua, I'm wondering if you can tell us about your journey into the CPA and teaching, and how did you get involved with the ILA program?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for the great overview of the program as well. it kind of came as a surprise for me, but I got a phone call one day and said, and it was about, hey, would you be interested in teaching a bit more? And I had already taught at McEwen University here in Edmonton, a few different courses, and so heard a little bit about the program. Hey, we're gonna gear this towards Indigenous learners specifically. I was raised Métis community and fairly integrated within some of our traditional practices. And so when I heard about the program and what we were trying to do, for me to bridge the community aspect with my expertise in the accounting side sounded like a great opportunity. And I think since that's a year and a half ago now, when we first started the first intake, to now, it's been an amazing journey. Really rewarding for me. I enjoy teaching and I enjoy being in the classroom, and so to have people like Shelby and Stephanie in the room with us is lots of fun, and we get to bring some very cool perspectives into the world.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Josh. Shelby or Stephanie, or both of you, I know you've sort of already started touching upon this, but what was your motivation to join the program specifically? Stephanie, you spoke a bit about that as well and shared that experience. But how specifically did you find out about the program, and how has the program impacted your career goals and aspirations?
Yeah, sure, I'll go first. So for me, like finding it was literally just like Indigenous CPA that
Yeah.
I remember. And I think I actually kind of got it a little bit convoluted because I started out talking to somebody at CPA that they were just looking at getting Indigenous people more involved. So that was kind of like a different aspect. And then I think they guided me to the ILA, which was very lucky. I think like goals wise, like it's been really helpful because it's really nice to be in an area where it's like I know there's that Indigenous mindset and other Indigenous people. One of the things that I've really loved is like going and getting into like a smaller group of people and being able to be like, okay, like we all have that kind of commonality as well. I think like I really like tax and I have an interest in that. And that's kind of what I'm working on right now. But it is nice to hear the other two people in my core group have more Indigenous focused jobs that they're currently in. And I think that's really cool and kind of something that I never really thought about doing. That I was like, oh, I could actually use this and become more focused like on community and helping in that way. Even keeping that kind of tax knowledge and stuff. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And Stephanie, would you like to add a little more to that?
Sure, yeah. So like I said, as soon as I heard about the program, I was surprised and very interested immediately with it being geared towards Indigenous learners. I just wanted to take one course just as well. It was at such an affordable amount, like it was only $300 to register. So I thought, well, I have nothing to lose, so I definitely wanted to be a part of the program and see what it was about. And I'm so glad I did.
Oh,
It I find that some of the promotional material on it, it doesn't really encompass like everything that it's really about. Like it touches on it, but
yeah.
once you're in it, you're so immersed into it immediately with so many supports and like-minded people, Indigenous, other students, which is it makes it so relatable, which I'm very glad that I did join it.
Oh, that's so
Uh,
beautiful.
yeah. Did you say that the question also included about the career goals and aspirations at this
Yeah,
point?
absolutely. Yeah, of course. Touch upon that. I
Sure.
would love that.
Yeah, so I've always been a part of First Nation organizations, especially nonprofit, and over the years, I noticed, or in recent years, that as First Nations are progressing and they're doing more self-governance, and as they get to that level, more requirements are placed upon the professionals that work with them, like ourselves, like to meet that as well and become better educated and to show that we are accredited, we're supporting the First Nations with our own knowledge, right? So
Yes.
it places the onus on us to better ourselves. And these programs, they're more reachable to us now and more accessible that I think it's put me of that mindset to go ahead and better myself. So I love this program, and I think it has given my career outlook more of a broader view, which I wasn't expecting at this point in my life.
That's a really great point and leads to maybe my next question. I might even open it up to all three of you, is sort of out of that, what has been the most unexpected lesson you've learned while you've been a part of the program so far? If any sort of stand out as like the one.
Maybe I'll go first, Ryan.
Sure.
For me, from the instructor perspective, hearing some of the stories has been maybe not unexpected, but a welcome piece of the classroom. Um, hearing from some of the learners about the impact that even one course has made in taking this, that to have the opportunity to come together, and maybe their third, fourth course now, and what their goals are, how their work life has changed, their ability to contribute at work, even at home, within their household. Maybe it's they learned something. I know for our intro financial accounting course, we talk a lot about a balance sheet, an income statement, and what about for us personally? We have our own personal balance sheet and income statement. Sure, we talk about from a corporation, but to have that impact to then go home and think of that from a personal perspective, and hearing those stories, I think that's for me what keeps me going, what keeps me motivated, and keeps the smile on my face. That every time we reconvene for a weekend to do some more learning, it's exciting and it's lots of fun. So
That's amazing.
I don't know, it's like I'll learn specifically from the program, but it's something that I kind of noticed is the first time when I was doing Engineer Core 1, you have a weekly case to do, right? So
Yep.
when I opened it, it was something simple, like this company is a painting company, an Indigenous company. And like I was like, oh wow. And I said to my husband, I was like, oh wow, look, it's a native company. That's fun. And then I was like,
Yeah.
oh wait, no, like that is, and I have like talked to people and seen it is kind of like just adding in like an Indigenous company or works for Indigenous people is Indigenous. And it was like that kind of noticing like how much that meant to me when it was literally just a sentence that was added in. It's that thing of being seen and being around people and being like, no, we're here, we matter. Like
It's beautiful.
in
Yeah.
the smallest way, that little thing, even though it is like the content is the same, we're getting the same education as like the regular stream. It just has that little bit, I don't know, more connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Shelby's comments there too on how much it's been like Indigenous and it's been incorporated into the program. One of the lessons I've learned there is like I'm actually in my mid-40s, so I didn't think I would be able to learn from trying to learn from 20 years ago to learning now, and jumping into this program has been surprising and good. So if you're if you're not sure of where you are in your life and trying to fit this program, and I find that it's unexpected that you will succeed if you just try it. So I'm glad I did, because that was really unexpected to me. I just thought, oh, I'll try it, I'll probably drop off. But no, it really engages you, especially with people that you're learning with. So yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for that, Stephanie. And also just sort of going into that is a great opportunity to sort of now talk about what work-life balance looks like for the two of you. And I'm wondering, how do you balance the demands of the program with your personal and professional responsibilities? What does that look like for you?
I can start out again. I'm I think an extra disadvantage, being that I am also diagnosed ADHD, but not currently medicated. So I think one of the things that has been more difficult is like it's pretty self-study focused, though I have noticed from talking to like other people at my firm that are going through the regular stream, we're meeting up a lot more as the Indigenous group. And also because it's a smaller class, I kind of have more access. Like day one, we made like a group chat, the three of us, like with the facilitator, without the facilitator, and we have kind of both of those streams to be able to connect, which I think is really helpful. You don't feel so like isolated in that. I think one of the things that's nice is like for me, working right now in a firm that is very much like when I got to the tax portion of Core One, I was like, this is just work. This is fine. So I think that that does help. Like there's a difference between working and going to school when it's something that's like kind of related versus like working in the industry and also just like going to school for that direct interest,
Yes.
which I think makes it a lot easier to balance. But I will say it's still like a lot of self-directed, self-focused that you kind of have to figure out. So I do struggle a bit with it, but I think that it has helped in that like I don't feel the same kind of pressure. Like I even had one of the times where I got one of the deadlines wrong and was able to speak to someone like right away to kind of like fix all of that, which I
Amazing.
know I wouldn't have gotten in the regular stream. So that does help.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephanie,
Um,
how do you balance it all? What's your secret?
Well, I just started in August, and quite
Mhm.
honestly, there was no secret at all because I did not balance well for 2 to 3 weeks to
Of
starting.
course.
And you find, I found that by, talking with the other students and
Mhm.
hearing that their difficulties, it made it more relatable. And like, so it made me think like, okay, we all have outside life. We all have, distractions. How do we make it work? Do
Yes.
we want it bad enough? So knowing that I wanted it bad enough, I just kept on. And it eventually becomes part of your life where you do balance it in. It does fit in. And I'm very pleased that, I found my groove with it. It did take a while, but, just hanging in there and feeding off of the other students and hearing that you're not alone in some of the challenges that, especially if you like live remotely or if you live, if you're facing other challenges to try balance, that really helped. The way we're set up to be able to chit chat with each other and stuff has made it easier for me to make it part of my life and to fit it in.
That's amazing. So you built some support structures with your cohort. That's amazing. And now, Joshua, I'll sort of turn that over to you and segue into talking about the impact and the future plans, and I guess working so closely with the students. What have you observed about the structure of ILA and the community that it builds?
Well, I think you said it perfectly. We're building a community.
Yeah,
And whether it's us instructors, whether it's the advisors, whether it's the students, I think we all have this ability to connect with each other and an opportunity. Shelby said it before, we meet a lot more regularly. We get to go through some stuff. There's a large self-study component. It is a professional education program. There is self-study, but we also have the ability to bridge that with being in the classroom together. Maybe it's not even that we're learning all the content 100% of the time. Sometimes it's a conversation on how's it going? What challenges are we facing? What successes have we had? And so that ability to have, if I can call it the best of both worlds, where hey, we have to study, but we also get some time together and can help each other study, is awesome. And from an instructor perspective, I have my way of explaining things. Unfortunately, it's my way. It's how I've learned, and it's how I have found the ability to relay that information. But that doesn't mean that it always resonates with everybody, that you get it the first time you hear it. And so,
of course.
within our classrooms, we have learning families. We're sitting together, and we can learn from each other. Then, so after I get to go through it, then you can work together and say, well, maybe Shelby understood this a little bit differently and she can explain it. And then Stephanie says, well, I still don't really get it. And then Ryan can come in and say, well, how about this? If I explain it this way, we can use some different examples. And so I think that the way the program's structured, we have this great flexibility to have the best of both worlds here,
Yes.
where you have the ability to learn from the instructor, but also from your classmates, your peers that are there together. And sharing the different examples. And even on the call today, Shelby works for in a public accounting firm.
Yeah.
Stephanie works in community. Very different perspectives. Working likely towards the same thing though. both in an accounting role, both doing similar stuff, and
Exactly.
just a different perspective. So I'd say for me, that's probably the biggest thing, the structure of the program that's had a really big impact. So.
Amazing. And then, and kind of going off of that, I wonder, Shelby and Stephanie, within your roles in your current fields and your careers, in what way the program has helped you develop skills that are directly applicable to where you are now, or sort of your career aspirations as well, either or.
Oh, I'll go first.
Of course.
I found already, like, my short term in the program so far, like, I already feel more confident, and I know I have resources, like better resources now to refer to if I have questions or if I'm unsure of something in the workplace, and I feel already I call myself like a baby accountant. I'm just like way down here yet. So I already feel like I'm credible, even just having these resources and knowing how to use them. And the other thing that I found at the program is, like Joshua was saying, in our cohorts, in our classrooms, sometimes we actually throw practice questions from our real-time workplaces to each other.
Oh,
Say, how would
great.
you handle this? And it's been awesome to have other knowledgeable people, coming from the same place, that you are coming from, and just like, did I handle that right? Just feeding off each other and putting real-time situations out there for discussion. So this program has been really helpful in many ways.
That's amazing, Stephanie. Thank you. And Shelby, how about yourself?
I think it's like part of it is, core one is very based on what you already learned in your degree. So some of it is just like kind of bringing back that knowledge. I think the thing that it honestly has helped me with in work is kind of like um, leaning more into that Indigenous identity, even though I don't have any other Indigenous people here. So being able to be like, well, no, I know at least two other people that I know are doing the exact same thing as me, like that are in my cohort. And I think that that is kind of the help more than anything. Like I was pretty, well, as you said, I'm a baby accountant. So I am, and my firm is very nice about like, you guys are learning and you don't know that much. And not because, you're not smart, you're not good. It's just
Yep.
part of this job is seeing stuff and like being like, oh, I did a file like that, or I've come across this before. So it's nice because it's kind of building that knowledge base, but also just building that confidence and being like, I can be an Indigenous professional, and it doesn't have to be like the only identity I have, but it also
Yep.
doesn't have to be a hidden identity.
Amazing. And I'm wondering, I'll open it up to both yourself, Shelby, as well as Stephanie, but Shelby, you're saying you're the only Indigenous accountant in your firm. And so what unique strengths do you believe that the Indigenous learners bring to the field of accounting, just within yourself or within the community at large?
I mean, just like being an Indigenous person is how you mean? Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I think part of it is like that bit of understanding that some of it is just even, you're working with the government, and some of the times when especially I'm talking in tax, right? So I'm going
Yep.
through CRA stuff and people are maybe not super excited to talk to the
Yep.
government, and you're kind of like, yeah, I get that. The government has maybe not been the best at times, but
Yep.
also like it's kind of being able to find that way of like, well, here's the
Yep.
value.
Amazing.
And I think, yeah, just like being kind of more aware of like some of the communities that maybe didn't grow up, affluent, as sometimes you're dealing with a lot of these people. It's like, okay, but I can kind of have that knowledge and understanding of like there are other groups in the world.
Exactly. Amazing.
So yeah.
Yeah, Stephanie, would you like to sort of share about what you feel a unique perspective that Indigenous learners bring to the field of accounting?
Sure, of course.
Thank you.
I think we do bring up different perspective, different situations,
Yep.
that happens at the community level. Or, for example, we had funders in from Ottawa sitting in our Northern Manitoba office, and they were trying to figure out how we can, some of the deliverables in the program, like how can we measure them? So one of them was like, it was like a food project, and they wanted us to pick berries and, count the berries in the pails.
Oh my
And
God.
so, we were like, how many berries that we can actually pick? Like there's pails and pails and pails and pails. So I know that's like a very small um, example of it, but
Of
so
course.
that kind of stuff, like some of the conversations that we were having there, they were just kind of blown away of like where we're coming from to be able to account and report on this particular program. So I just think our Indigenous have like a little bit of a different perspective from living in the north and not having things as readily accessible. So just to kind of put that back into perspective
Of
for
course.
some of the funders and stuff has been fun.
Amazing. And all three of you have touched upon this, but it's sort of how the Indigenous Learners and Accounting Initiative is about building community and creating a community. And I'm wondering how the program has helped you connect with the Indigenous community and support Indigenous perspectives for you.
I think, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just being around community again. Like as someone that, I live in the city, I don't have that kind of like, I'm not close to my nation at all. I'm originally like, I'm Six Nations and I live in Vancouver. So I don't have that, built in anywhere else. And that's where I found like I said, I was in the Indigenous Student Center at my school, which was a great resource. But then once you're out of school, you're like, okay, now what? So I think it was really great in that way to kind of build community, and then you're still involved. Like I think the thing is like even being invited to this webinar and stuff, it's like I have my core one people, but you're part of this bigger group. And you kind
Yes.
of don't know how that's gonna be like pulled in. Like even at the end of this, well, next weekend, going for the closing ceremony to bring in like not just my core one people, but the core two people and the assurance people as well. And like being able to be in a room with all these other learners that you're, again, you have that, it's the simplest thing of like, okay, we're all Indigenous here. Like this is really cool. We have a similar
It
interest.
really
'Cause
is.
yeah, it is also that like I found when I was in school, there was, even though I was going to the Indigenous Student Center, there was only like two other Native kids that were in like business at all. So for kind of obvious reasons, maybe business school is not super popular in Indigenous people. There's a lot of stuff that I had to hear about that I was like,
Of course.
really ethics. And the question is whether we protect the water. Like, I don't understand how this is a question, but sure. Whereas you don't kind of run into that as much because you're like, well, we all have that background. We all have that perspective. So, yeah.
Amazing. Stephanie, feel free to answer as well.
Sure, thank you. I find that the program, seeing like just learning about it like months ago, basically, and then seeing how accessible and easy it is to get into it, and how valuable the learning is. Like I've already reached out to like some of my community contacts, some even just friends, and telling them about the program and saying, what, this is really helpful. And I just find that like it's helped me kind of provide more information to them to help them further, because a lot of times they come to me for information on various, how do we, should we work with these accountants, should we do this? And I want them to empower themselves too and be able to take part in a program like this. So I think just spreading more of the word has helped me connect better with the community. And yeah, I think that's all I have to add for that one.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you, Stephanie. And now, so I'd kind of like Joshua to chime in and sort of talk about the instructor aspect of this and what makes the program unique compared to other accounting programs.
Yeah, I get asked this a lot, and that is like, oh, what are you teaching with Indigenous accounting? And I have to remind everybody, well, hey, accounting's still accounting. We haven't changed anything. We still have standards. We got IFRS, we got ASPE, we got not-for-profit standards, PSAP, whatever it is. The standards haven't changed from a financial perspective. But what we're doing is bringing some different examples in, and I'll share a quick story. Just last weekend we reconvened. We started talking about some financial statement analysis, some ratio analysis, and I made a comment that, oh, if you're doing a gross margin analysis, we should have a positive gross margin because that means we're selling our goods for more than what it's costing us to get them, and that's typically what we see. And we got sidetracked then based on my comment. There's certain instances where we will sell things at a loss. We'll purposefully. It's something that not a lot of people understand, but within our Indigenous communities, if we're trying to increase employment rates, create jobs, we're trying to have affordable groceries or something. There's different scenarios where within our community, we will do something that seems a little counterintuitive or
Yep.
against the norm, but there's a very, very logical reason. And so I'd say from an instructor standpoint and from the program, we're teaching accounting, we're teaching the how are we going to do this in the real world piece, but we're adding in a lot more that other people might not understand right away. We get to talk about these examples or these situations that that happen in our daily lives within community that um, might not be the norm, might not be logical in certain scenarios, but they truly are. And we have the ability to talk about that stuff, add this extra value in. And so I think hearing things like that or being able to be flexible. We still talked about ratio analysis and what a realistic ratio might look like and what benchmarking is. We still talked about all that, but we got to add in this other perspective that I think is really important.
That's amazing. You kind of answered my I was going to follow up with how do you incorporate Indigenous perspectives into that curriculum specifically, but you wrapped it all into a beautiful little package. Thank you, Joshua. You did my job for
Sorry to
me.
get it. Sorry to get it.
No, I love that. I love that. I'll turn to now Shelby and Stephanie, and I'm just wondering, can you describe the ILA or the Indigenous Learners and accounting supports that are in place with the school and sort of what stands out about those services that you've experienced, or have you utilized those services, and what has that experience been like for the two of you?
So I will say I kind of mentioned a little bit of the starting with the ADHD stuff, and I did
Yep.
have where I just wrote down the wrong date. And one of the things that I found was like I was immediately panicking that I was like, okay, because I've done this kind of thing before where I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to write my test. I was like spiral. So I was able to get on like with my facilitator, and he was like, okay, well, why don't you check with like the person that's doing the marking? And she was like, you just go ahead and put in a request for an extension. And it was like, it was no problems. It was like something that I noticed when I first started in the program and I was talking to Jackie, one of the advisors. She said, like, we're here for you guys. We want you to succeed. We don't want this to be some like really stringent, difficult, like if stuff comes up, let us know. Which I know is not the case in the regular stream. It's a little bit more
Yes.
like, we're here to do business, let's do business. And it's like, well, no, we're people. And I think that that's something that I've really noticed with the supports, being able to reach out, being checked in on, having someone just send you a message, be like, hey, how are you doing? And another thing, a huge support I find is just like the facilitators that even just being in that room, like Joshua kind of said, like it's not just like, okay, here we learn accounting, like let's go, just talk about it,
Yep.
get through it. Like it's also like, how are you guys doing with it? What is your day-to-day kind of going like? That you have that space. I think the easiest way is like to be a person as well. Like if stuff comes up, I do think that there is the supports there. So
That's great. And Stephanie, how about for yourself?
The supports in place are amazing, I find, and I think that's what's really kept me in the program to this day because
Oh,
I
good.
find that I was really surprised with how many contacts are available, like for anything that
Hmm.
you need or have questions on, and there's so many resources available, and the quickness in like how quick they are to respond. You know, I could throw out something to Jackie or to the instructor and say, "Oh, I'm concerned about this," and then they're on it right away. And I used to use those little things, those little hiccups as excuses, but I find that in this program, they give you like the hands-on little kick in the butt that you need and say, okay, I hear you, this happened, move on. Let's, you still need to do this. And I like that refocusing
Yes.
and say, okay, somebody heard me, they understand. I got a little bit of allowance of time, move on. So I really like that, the understanding and the support and the persistence, needed there. So I really like that.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Stephanie. I'm wondering now, going back to Joshua, what your favorite aspects of teaching within the ILA program is so far?
That's a tough one. Um, is everything a reasonable answer, Ryan? I don't know. For me, teaching kind of fell into my lap. It wasn't something that I was thinking about or even wanted to do
Yep.
at different points, but I just enjoy being in the classroom. The program is so valuable to share the knowledge that I have, and
Yes.
everybody thinks that the instructor is only there to teach and the students are only there to learn. I learn so much every time we convene. It's a reciprocal classroom. We learn from each other, and so my favorite part is being a part of it. One of the earlier questions you asked is around the connections, and what does that mean? And um,
Yes.
I see the students out in the community. Then you run into them through different organizations or through work or through I do some board work, and all of a sudden you're at the same event, and both of you are talking about the program, different perspectives. But I think that all of that wrapped together makes it just fun. It's stressful, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of work before a session and prepping, make sure I have some examples and want to talk about things. For students, there's some stress, and hey, I want to make sure I learn everything. I want to pass the exam. I want to do well overall in the program. Absolutely, and stress is a very good thing to have there in right
Yes.
amounts. But it's fun at the end of the day. We get to laugh, and I know one of the other classes, we have two classrooms back to back, and the other class will always pop by and say, "Why are you guys laughing so loud? Like, what's going on over there? Like, you guys not learning anything?" And absolutely, we're learning something, but we get to have some fun doing it. So my favorite part of it is everything. It's a bad answer, but it's
That's
everything.
amazing.
And I think that just adds that much more to it. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm just noticing the time where this conversation could go on all day, I'm sure. But I want to make sure we have space for some of the questions that we're receiving in the chat room. So before we dive into those, what's one piece of advice you wish you had received before you started the program, Stephanie and Shelby?
I kind of wish that I knew about the program, that this was going to be up and coming. I feel like I would have geared myself towards the program sooner. And I feel like I'm just a little bit at a disadvantage because I wasn't ready and I just kind of jumped into it. And I just kind of look back in hindsight and like, oh, I could have done this, I could have did this. But here we are. And I'm just glad that the program's out there. And I think it's just taking time to catch up with making it like everyone aware that this program does exist now.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you for that, Stephanie.
on the similar with that, I didn't know about it, and I didn't know that it was only the extended versions. So specifically in the Indigenous Learners, I would have loved to know that because I could have timed things differently.
Of course.
And as a person just going into Core 1, and I try to tell this to like when I'm at recruiting events and stuff too, like I do think it's kind of better to start the CPA stuff earlier because it is really relevant to your degree, and you lose a lot of that knowledge like very quickly. Even though I'm using a lot of stuff every day, it's that kind of learning mentality. So, I mean, obviously, Stephanie, like you said, you're kind of coming back to it. There is that forced. I was a mature student. Sometimes just stuff gets in the way, but if you are going from school to working, looking at the CPA stuff quicker is maybe a good idea.
Amazing. And then just going off of that, Stephanie, you sort of answered this, Shelby, but what's one piece of advice would you offer prospective students who are considering joining the program?
If you're not sure, just join and find out for yourself. Like there's very little to your commitment to being in there. Like everything you're supported from your travel to everything to like getting to a location where they're hosting the classes. I would say just try for yourself and see. You have nothing to lose.
Amazing. And thank you for that, Stephanie. And so we're now going to turn it over to the questions in the audience. I see the CPOSB staff are answering questions as we've been going along. Now, if you have any questions, you can open the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and you can type any questions you have. You can submit them anonymously by checking the anonymous box. And please go ahead and ask your questions now. And any one of the three panelists, as well as any of the advisors on the back end, we can help answer those for you as well. So we have one right here from Sherry King is asking, and either Joshua or possibly one of the support staff on the back end might be able to answer, will there be tax modules in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I can maybe answer. I see Jackie came on too, but Jackie, you go ahead if you want.
You go ahead. I don't like being on camera.
The short answer is yes. The long answer is that just the scheduling and the demand for it will be part of it. But the short answer is yes. Obviously, we know that our learners are looking to what comes next. And so that is in the plans for next year, for the year after. So trying to structure when each cohort will want the next module, and tax is definitely coming in the upcoming one. I don't know exactly. I don't want to give dates or something, but I believe it's in one of the intakes for next year. So yes.
That's perfect. Thank you. That's really exciting news, actually. So if there's any other questions,
Please put them in the chat. And I'm just
please.
going to plunk myself in here. So while we're waiting
Yes.
for questions, I actually have an on-the-spot question for our students. Can you share a success story or moment you're particularly proud of since you've started the program? And as an example for that, I know that one of our previous students had taken the course, and then she went to one of her AGM meetings. And she was like, I understood what they were talking about. So it was sort of like an aha moment, which was really nice to hear from her. I'm wondering if you have a story, a success story or a moment.
I think one of my moments, which again, I think it's just the way that this core is working and like my work, that it's kind of more the personal base and the Indigenous base, because I think I felt really successful just going, like, part of this is the opening ceremony. I found out about it kind of late, that I was like, oh, because I am not the best at keeping up with all the announcements and stuff. So my fault. I found about a little bit late, and then I was like, oh no, I have to go to another city and like talk to people. And I was lucky enough my husband could come along, but honestly, I didn't need him. And it was really great to just go and be in this environment and feel very comfortable right away. And then also, even though like core one, you're still pretty new, we said baby accountant, I'm latching onto that because I say the exact same thing, because I am just like, I don't know stuff. But even in that environment, I didn't feel like I was at a disadvantage or like I was new. Like part of the opening ceremony was also just kind of like a meet and greet with everybody and talking to instructors. So that was really cool, to feel like, oh, this can be me one day, and I felt empowered to get there. So yeah, I think that was my win, maybe.
Thank you for that, Shelby. That's great. We have a question in the chat from Cameron Stevens asking, typically how many students are in the course? And additionally, for spring, when is deadline to register for IMA?
Yeah, I can answer quick. In the average course, it depends. It truly depends on the prep side versus PEP, and what point in the education career we have people registering. But on the prep side, so for IFA, IMA, the IF 1 and 2, somewhere between 10 and 20 on average, I would say. And hey, if there's more of you that are going to register, maybe that number gets bigger, and we have some bigger classrooms that we can work in different groups and stuff with. But on average, I say 10 to 20, and then maybe Jackie, deadline to register for the next one. I think it's coming up, but
I believe that the deadline is, so I'm gonna show like maybe my non-knowledge of the website right now, which is not cool, but I believe it is January 24th.
24th. Yep.
Oh, confirmed by Yvonne. Awesome. So I was going to say the 25th, so I would have been wrong. But yeah, so that is when we will have the registration deadline. Oh, please, I'm encouraging everyone, register. This is a great program. I've been here since as manager for 9 months, and prior to that, a year in an advising role. And it's just been eye-opening. It's a wonderful experience. So I just want to encourage that.
Thank you, Jackie. And I do see one of the questions in the chat asking if there is somebody they can contact about registrations. You can go to our website at www.cpawsb.ca/ILA. Also, when we're wrapping this up, I'll share a bunch of contact information that you can email or give phone calls as well and start your journey with us. I think on that note and looking at the time, I guess we should bring this to a close. And that's a great place for that. If you're interested in finding out more about the current PEP modules and preparatory courses being offered as part of the Indigenous Learners in Accounting Initiative, or even interested in enrolling, visit our website. I've said a few times, it's on the screen for you there, or you can contact the recruitment team of your province. Registration is currently remains open for both the ILA preparatory courses and the CPA PEP modules, which are being offered. I would like to thank our incredible guests today, Shelby, Stephanie, Joshua, as well as Jackie, for chiming in and being with us. Thank you for sharing your experiences and inspiring us. I'd also like to thank the admission advisors and CPAWSB staff for answering your questions today. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you have found it as valuable as I have. And I hope that you continue your journey with us, which you can do so on our website. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Joshua, Shelby, as well as Stephanie. And take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everybody.